So welcome back. Today I'm hoping to complete another phase of my 50 house project. If you're not familiar with the 50 house project, I'll leave a link up above. But I had set out to mill all of the wood to build 50 birdhouses for around our habitat project here in southeastern Ohio. And today I've got 4 wood duck houses that I want to replace some very old ones that are here on the pond. You can see one over here to my left, and these have been sitting around for about probably 3.5 years. This project has taken me way longer than I expected. We had planned on having a whole bunch of scouts and other kids help out, and then COVID hit and that all just kind of blew up, and my son no longer went to scouts. Anyway, long story short, we have 4 wood duck houses here on the property. We've had nesting ducks a number of times, but this particular house has a hole in the top of it. The next one I'm going to is missing the bottom, and the other 2 are just in disrepair. So they've held up for a very long time. I'm excited to put the new ones out, but it's going to take a little bit of work. Fortunately, the folks who lived here before put really nice angle iron and created a system that I'm hoping won't take too long to get them out here with an impact driver, drilling a few new holes, and hopefully we'll be able to get things moving along pretty quickly without too much delay. We are in the end of January, so the weather has started to warm up. I checked the ice earlier. We've got over 6 inches of ice here still, but it is definitely melting today. So if I don't get this project done today or tomorrow, I think it's going to be next year again. And this could all be done from a boat, but I just thought it'd be a lot easier being able to have all of my stuff here ready to go and knock it out. So we're going to walk on up here to the first one that's completely busted out and work on that one first. So stick around. All right, so as you can see, it's a pretty good hike out here from the house. So glad to be able to use the sleds today. Let's talk a little bit about what I've got out here today. I've actually got 4 wood duck houses, and as I was building them, I went through a couple different designs. This particular design does not open on the sides, but the bottom has a false bottom that can be popped up to clean out the bedding and that sort of thing. I think that's all right, but I have found already, and I'm probably going to find this when I go to mount this, that having that swing open door is going to be much nicer. And I'll show you that as I'm doing some of the others. Basically got a screw driven in the side, and I hinged the door so that it would open. I had a third design that hinges open halfway up, and it had the false bottom. And I just found that the effort to build that style was taking me a little bit longer. And I had built all of these with green pine. So I was worried about the shrinkage of the wood, which has impacted a number of my houses, but they're still working just fine. So anyway, that's what we've got there. I've got impact drivers because I'm going to have to take out some bolts here on the prior setup, which I believe these must have been made out of cedar. Looks like the same kind of cedar siding that's on my cabin. Probably a much better idea than the pine, but we're going to go with the pine for now, see how long they hold up. Maybe in the summer I'll come out and hit them with some Thompsons or something to try to improve the longevity on them. But yeah, I think they're going to be all right. I've got wood shavings that we're going to use to put the bedding in there, and a number of other tools just to get everything taken apart and mounted up. I believe I might have forgotten a key element here, which was a drill bit, the right size for the bolts that we're using. So we're gonna go ahead and start with just getting the bolts off here, lining up, getting our measurement, and then seeing what we need from there. Got some WD-42 because these bolts are rather old. And frankly, now I'm a little concerned whether or not I'm going to be able to get these off with what I've got out here. Let's see. All right. Okay. My issue is going to be whether or not I can get a wrench on the other side. Well, nothing goes as easy as planned. Looks like I'm going back to the house. Well, it was a long walk back to the house, but I needed a drill bit, and I was able to get a crescent wrench to get those bolts out. So I think we'll go with plan B, which is going to be to take this top off. This must be the one I didn't put any removable side on. So this should make it easier to get it installed for sure. All right, I'm hoping this is the only one that has this style. I took a peek at the one down there and it doesn't have the curled over edges, which should give me more space to get in and work. I'm glad I brought my smaller impact. That ought to get me in there. And hopefully we're about done here. All right, so this particular house, you can see this one has like a mesh screen to help the ducklings to climb out. And that one got a pretty interesting little clamp on it. But what I did in here was I took a saw and grooved it. But I'm gonna see if I can get that apart and reuse that. I kind of like that one better. It looks a little more fit for purpose. See if you can see that there. It wraps and goes all the way on the inside. And that clamp came right out, nice and handy. You might be able to reuse that too. So there's that little thing. I think we're going to reuse it. Looks like that side didn't come out as well as this side did, so we'll reuse this side. And I brought a staple gun. So we'll fasten this down. So here's what the inside looks like. All right. I did have a hinge on this one. Right there's the opener. All right, so we got the new house up. This is the first of 4. That took me a little longer. I had to go back a couple times, forgot a couple things. But you can see the difference in the design One of the key differences that I think has evolved in the wood duck house is you want a less of a slanted top, because the male will often just sit on the top of the nest box while the female is inside. So that wasn't a possibility, as you can see with this one. So yeah, pretty excited to finally get these out. I would like to say once I get these 4 out, I might have 10 left that I need to put out. They're kestrel houses and owl houses, and they're really tall, and I haven't figured out how to get them up into the trees. I think I got a couple woodpecker houses as well. But we're somewhere close to 40, I would say, if not just this north side of 40. So we'll see. First one's up. You'll notice also on this one the size of the hole. And there's a particular size you're supposed to make them, and this is the right size here. It's hard to kind of make a template because it's not a perfect circle. But one of the things that's been really cool here is I've actually seen out of this particular house here, wood ducks come down the pond and just fly right into the box. I mean, full speed, drop right into the box. I don't know how the heck they stop, if they hit the back wall, what happens, but anyway, we got one down. We're gonna knock out the others. We'll hit some highlights on that before we wrap it up. So the next one we're gonna hit is on up here around, this is what my kids call Beaver Island. So you'll note there's a small island here on our 4-acre pond, which is pretty awesome. But we are headed to that house right there, and take a look to see what's inside of it before we replace it. So you'll notice on this house, that green siding for the roof, I replaced that a while back. That is the same T111 that we've used on my kids' tree house. What I'm gonna do on this one is knock the top off so we can take a look. It looks like I used screws on the top there. Let's take those out. Can reuse those screws. Looks like I was putting them in however I could get them to hold, because there's about a dozen in here. Okay. So whether you're replacing the house or just doing your annual maintenance, it's good, because you can see here this thing's been overrun with some sort of mud wasp. I'm going to show you on this one, I believe these were set up with the false bottom. So maintenance annually would have just been to come out here, and this one doesn't have any, I can't see any egg activity in there at all, but that would be, actually, there's some egg fragments in there. So yeah, this has been nested in the last few years. Lots of different egg fragments in there. You can see that. But come out here and knock those open with the false bottom, clean them out, and all that goes down and feeds your catfish, whatever's in there. I've found a couple dead babies in there a few times, so it's good to get them cleaned out for the next season. So the gentleman that owned this property originally, he was a metal worker, a welder. This one's going to be a lot easier. You can see there's no bracket I got to get between there. So I'm going to hit these with WD-40, let them clean up just a tad, because they are a rusty mess. I should be replacing them, but I'm not, out of laziness. No trip back to the house. This one's coming right off. Okay, I wanted to show you what I was talking about with the trap door. So I showed you how the one that was here had the bottom trap door. This one's set up to where I can open it like this. I do have some issues where it looks like I drove my roof into the sidewall, so I'm going to have to fix that. But we'll get that fixed here in a second. I'm taking the roof off anyway to do the installation, so that shouldn't be a problem. Let's just go ahead and do that. The way that hinge works is I have a nail here that's not nailed all the way in, and one here. And those provide kind of the swinging hinge. But clearly, your roof's not supposed to be connected, otherwise you get that. So every one of these has a unique challenge based on how they're mounted. This one doesn't give me much space on the box itself to get my wrench on it. So not to mention the box is relatively narrow in comparison to what we are working with, and that is a bigger size. You can see how doing this out of a boat would add challenges, dropping stuff in the water. That was my biggest concern, really. I was just trying not to have to worry about that. All right, so that's 2 down. I went ahead and reattached the roof. Let's see if my door now swings better. There we go. So that's how we'll clean this one out. When the time comes. Next time I'll do that when the roof's off, like the other one. That was a heck of a lot easier. So we got 2 done, and the next one is all the way at the end down there, which is actually no longer in the water. It's kind of in a marshy area. So it makes it a lot easier to get to it right now as well. So let's go change that one out. So these old houses have served a lot of different wildlife. You can see all of the larvae, probably carpenter bees, and then the woodpeckers like to come and dig all that out. This is what a lot of the outside wood on my cabin looks like. Every year we're fighting carpenter bees. They lay their eggs, they drill their hole, lay their eggs, and then the woodpecker comes along, looks for the empty hollow areas and then starts pecking them out. Not good. Not good. There we go. So this one has a lot more nesting evidence in the form of feathers and stuff down in there. But we're going to go ahead and replace this one. I will say I am thankful that they use the same size hardware on everything. That's been one issue I haven't had to run into. You have no idea what a relief it is to get this done today. I can now stop catching grief from my wife and from Jason for my project that's taken every bit of 4 years. I kick all this crap back in there so I don't lose another bolt. All right, let's see here. If you don't have these ratchet open-ended wrenches, man, these are freaking fantastic. This is a gear wrench. I love them. Except for when you get them on the wrong end and they just spin, or the wrong direction. All right, and thank you for reminding me to put the bedding in before I put the lid back on. That's very nice of you. Kind of tired of watching me mess up, aren't you? Good news is there's only one more to go. I hadn't done a bedding clean out on these old ones for a long time. Probably since the last time I did a video about the duck houses, which has been a long time. That's three. Three. That's three. Now we got to go back to the first one that we passed. Let's head back, wrap up the last one. Then I'll show you what I have left to put out. And I think tomorrow I'm going to go out and clean out all my bluebird houses. I just read something today that February was the time they start scouting. And so we'll check those out, maybe do a small video on that one. So this is the house that I mentioned has a hole in the roof. And as I'm peeling this apart, this was all plywood. I don't know if this was plywood that I put on. I don't think so. I don't think the plywood was that bad. This is definitely dead. Trashed out. This one has some activity. I can't tell if there's been any nesting or not. So this was another that I had covered or put a new bottom in it. think it's easier just to tear it apart so I can get it apart easier. Reaching down in there with all these nails. Lucky I hadn't cut myself yet. Still time. Yep, there is some egg debris. They definitely wouldn't have used it this year because of the hole in the roof. Everything's wet inside of there. So I think that's a good thing to get it replaced. They definitely use, I see a bunch of eggshells. So it's good to see that every one of my nests have signs of activity on them. That I'm very pleased. Very pleased. At least I know I'm not wasting my time. What did I say? I hadn't cut myself yet. Looks like I just did. Must have been when I was tearing that stuff apart. This one, how? No. Oh, that's right. Here. Okay. All right, that's the last one, number 4. We got 4 here on the 4 acres. At some point I might try a few different places. They're all away from the house, which the wood duck like that. If I come out, if I see them on the pond, and I just open the back door, sliding door, they fly immediately. So very skittish, but yeah, pretty cool. So I would say all in, if you're still here, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully I did a decent job of editing. But I've been at this for probably 2 hours. I'd say about a half hour per box, easily, depending on how well it went. So I'm gonna walk back, take all my tools back. I'll show you just real quick what's left on the inventory of houses out of the 50 house project. Let's get back to the house.
Come back home to me, where rivers are running free, through valleys as far as the eye can see.
All right, so I'm going to wrap this up with a quick count of how many birdhouses are left to go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I think I had 52 houses. So that means I've got 38 successfully installed. This is a kestrel, or it also works for I think a screech owl is the other one. So I've got a couple of these as well that I'd like to get out. Pretty cool. Thanks a lot for watching. If you like our content, hit the like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.